Hello students, myself Kishore N. Gujar, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics. Today, I am going to explain the topic elasticity. Solids have definite shape and size. The molecules in solid bind with a strong intermolecular force of attraction. In equilibrium, the relative position of the molecule is remain fixed. When external force is applied, the molecule displaces from its original position. It means the relative position of molecule changes. That changes the shape or size of the solid body. By removing the external force, the molecule tries to come back to its original position. So this property of the body, that is here what we call an elasticity. So elasticity is defined as the property of a material body to regain its original condition on the removal of an external force. So that is here what we call an elasticity. Next, perfect elasticity. The body completely regains its original condition and the removal of deforming force is called elasticity. Here, perfect elasticity, it is just an ideal case. No such bodies exist in nature. Quartz fiber is considered as a close approximation of perfect elastic body. Next, plasticity. The body which do not show any tendency to recover their original condition and the removal of deforming force are called plasticity. Again, the plasticity, it is just an ideal case. No such bodies are exist in nature. Putty is considered to be the perfect plastic body, or it is a close approximation of the perfect plastic body. Here the elasticity measure how difficult it to stretch. In our day-to-day life, if anybody asks which is more elastic, a rubber or a steel, our answer is rubber. But physics define elasticity as resistance to change. The greater the resistance to change, greater is the elasticity of the material, and faster it comes back to original shape after the reforming force is removed. In the physics sense, the steel is more elastic than rubber. Next, we'll move on to stress. When body in equilibrium under the influence of intermolecular force, but when deforming force are applied to it, there is relative displacement of particle, and that gives rise to internal force of reaction, tends to oppose and balance the deforming force. If this opposite force be uniform, then it is clear distributed force like fluid pressure and is measured in the same manner as force per unit area. This restoring or recovering force per unit area set up inside the body, that is here what we call stress. And it is given by sigma is equal to F by A, where F is the restoring force, A is the area of cross section. SI unit of stress is Newton per meter square or Pascal. Next, we'll move on to types of stress. First one is the normal stress. When force acts perpendicular to the surface of an object, then it is called a normal stress. When the normal stress acts on the body, there is a change in the length or volume of the body. Normal stress can be further classified into two types based on the dimension of force. First one, the longitudinal stress, and the second one, bulk stress. We know that when the normal stress is applied on the object or on the body, there is a change in length or the volume of the body. If there is change in length of the body, then it is called a longitudinal stress. When the deforming force at all dimensions resulting the change in volume, then it is called a bulk stress. Next, we will move on to shearing stress or a tangential stress. In this type of stress, the force acts parallel to the surface of an object. When the tangential stress acts on the body, there is a change in the shape of the body. Next, we'll move on to strain. We know that when the deforming force applied on a body, there are change in length, volume, or shape of the body. Then we say that the body is under the strain. The strain is the amount of deformation experienced by the body in the direction of force applied divided by initial dimension of the body. That is, the strain is equal to change in dimension by its original dimension, and it is given by the E is equal to delta L by L, where delta L is change in length and the capital letter L is original length of the material. The strain is dimensionless quantity as it just defines the relative change in shape. Next, we will move on to Hooke's law. Hooke's law, it is a fundamental law of elasticity, was proposed by the Robert Hooke in the year 1679. It states that within the elastic limit, the stress is directly proportional to strain. Therefore, the stress is equal to E into strain, or E is equal to stress by strain, where E is the constant, proportionality constant, and it is called the moduli of elasticity. The unit and dimension of the moduli of elasticity are the same as that of stress. Next, we will move on to stress-strain curve. Stress-strain curve is a graphical representation of the behavior of a material when it is subjected to load or force. It gives the relation between stress and strain. Here, the stress-strain curve are obtained when we plot the graph of stress is along y-axis and strain is along the x-axis. In the graph, we can see the number of points. Here the point OA, it is called as a proportional limit. B is upper yield point. C is lower yield point. D is ultimate stress point. E is the fracture. Proportional limit. We see in the graph the portion OA is a straight line. That is, the stress is proportional to strain. If between the point O and A, if we remove the deforming force, the body or the material return to its original state. Thus, the material perfectly elastic up to the point A. And this is the elastic limit of the wire. Hence, along the OA, the wire undergoes elastic deformation. Next, we'll move on to the elastic limit. Elastic limit is a point on the graph up to which material returns to its original position, or it is a maximum stress up to which the material shows the perfect elastic behavior. That is called an elastic limit. Here the BC is called an yield point. It is the point at which material start to deform plastically. After the yield point is passed, a permanent plastic deformation occurs. There are two yield points, upper yield point, that is at the point B, and lower yield point, that is at the point C. Now let us see what is the upper yield point. Upper yield point is the behind the elastic limit, material exhibit the plastic properties. Upper yield point is the point where maximum stress is required to initiate the plastic deformation inside the material. And C is the lower yield point. You know that after the point C, material length increases with very small increase in load. So the lower yield point is the point where minimum stress required to exhibit the plastic behavior of a material. So in between these 2 points B and C, when we remove the external force, the body is not completely regain its original position. Next one is the breaking point. This graph indicates that as the length of the wire increases, even if the wire is unloaded. Finally, the wire breaks ultimately at the point C, that is here what we call the breaking point.